Walk like a man, even though you walk alone. Why court approval once the road is known? Let come who will, but if they all turn home, the goal still awaits you. Go on alone.
Follow your dreams, though it leads to worlds unknown. Life's but a shadow, once our dreams have flown. What if and cry, your dream is not your own. Your soul knows the answer. Go on alone.
Give life your heart, bless everything that's grown. Fear not the loving, all this world's your own. Make rich the soil, but once the seed is sown, seek freedom, don't linger. Go on alone. Walk like a man, even though you walk alone. Why court approval once the road is known? Let come who will, but if they all turn home, the goal still awaits you. Go on alone. Go on alone. Go on alone. Many hands make a miracle. Let's all join hands together. Life on earth is so wonderful. When people laugh and dance and struggle as friends, when all their dreams achieve their ends. Many hands make a miracle. People climbing together. Soon we reach to the pinnacle of every mountain peak we hazard as one. We lift our hands to welcome the sun. Many hands make a miracle. Let's all join hands together. Life on earth is so wonderful. When people laugh and dance and struggle as friends, when all their dreams achieve their ends. Many hands make a miracle. People climbing together. Soon we reach to the pinnacle of every mountain peak we hazard as one. We lift our hands to welcome the sun. We lift our hands to welcome the sun.
The title of this is Demand for the Opening of the Spiritual Eye, the Eastern Star of Wisdom. Bless me, Father, that I behold the Eastern Star of Wisdom. May it shine before my human eyes as much in daylight as in darkness. Long my eyes were blinded by the time glitter of materiality. Seeing things always outwardly, I saw not the spirit behind and within them. I saw the mustard seed of matter, but spied not the oil of spirit that it contained. My third eye of wisdom is now opened. Oh, may it always be so. Let the gaze of my single eye of realization penetrate through every veil of matter to behold the infinite presence of Christ everywhere. Bless me that my sacred wise thoughts, following this star of knowledge, lead me to the Christ in everything.
And from the Gita, Master's commentary on the Gita, the essence of the Bhagavad Gita, as remembered by Swami Kriyananda. Swamiji writes, "We see here the importance of having a true guru. He alone, from his level of wisdom, with, in addition, his clear insight into your nature, and with his commitment to helping you as his disciple to find God, can be relied upon to show you the way through the minefield of the bewildering mix of qualities you manifest. With his help, you will emerge onto the plateau of wholly sattvic qualities, and then will understand how to pass beyond even those elevated qualities to perfect freedom from the last traces of ego consciousness in infinite consciousness. Even to be in tune mentally with the Guru can help you to understand every time you come to the point where you might make a mistake. What you will feel will be a certain nervousness in the heart's feelings. When you are doing right, on the other hand, you will feel the Guru's calm inner endorsement and approval in your heart. We see here again the utter importance on the spiritual path of having a true Guru. Swami Shankara was standing on the other side of a river from a close disciple of his. My Guru once described to me what happened. I still remember his understated facial expression, the subtle hand gesture, and the quiet tone of voice with which he related this part of the story. Shankara called gently to his disciple, "Come over here." Most people would have looked around for a boat. This disciple, however, placed a foot unhesitatingly on the water. The moment he did so, a lotus leaf appeared beneath his foot and supported it. With each successive step, another leaf appeared. The disciple quickly reached the other side. From then on, he became known as Padmapada, lotus feet. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind. Om, Om, Om.
Good morning, everyone. It's so nice to be here and share with you. Our topic today is, can man see God? And I told a friend I was going to be talking, and she said, "That's easy. Just say no and sit down." But I have a lot of stories to tell you, and so does Dhyanaji, to help us out and to figure out if this is possible. This was a story that I heard from Devi, our spiritual director. And it's a story about Brindaban. So, as you probably know, Ananda has a work in Brindaban. It's a care home for elderly women, mainly widows. And I think we provide total care for about 200 women and help feed maybe 2,000 women. And at one time, there was a woman who was on her way to Brindaban, and she was elderly and very sick, and didn't make it there. She fell into a ditch, and she was just about ready to die. And she was just ready to give up and just, "Lord, just take me." And someone came by and stopped and asked how she was, and she said, "No, I'm just giving up." And he said, "I want to help you." "No, that can't be. You can't give up. I will help you." And so he called for a rickshaw and asked the rickshaw to take this woman to the Ananda Care Center in Brindaban. And so the rickshaw driver drove her to the Ananda Care Center, and she was very elderly, very sick, starving, and very destitute. And at the Ananda Care Center, they just said, "No, we can't take you. You're too ill." So they sent her to the hospital. And she was in the hospital for 3 months. And after 3 months, she came to the Ananda Care Center. And when she was there, she saw the autobiography of a yogi. And she saw the cover. And she said to one of the care workers, "Oh, that man on the cover, that's the man that stopped to help me. And she was like, wow, that's amazing. She became a disciple when she found out about Yogananda. There's many, if you open up the autobiography of a yogi, and on the first page, there is a quote at the bottom from the Bible, and it says, "Lest ye see wonders and sights, ye shall not believe." It's by John chapter 4. And the autobiography of a yogi is just filled with miracle after miracle and stories after stories of divine souls. And it's also filled with Yogananda's vibration. But why all these stories? These stories are there to awaken us, awaken us from delusion, and to, when we hear these stories of unusual saints, and maybe in India you're more used to hearing stories of sadhus and saints than in America, because in America it's even like I think it's even more surprising because it's more of a part of the Indian culture. But when you read these stories, right in the very first chapter, Lahiri Maharshi appears in a wheat field, and there's many miracles in that book. And these miracles are to expand our consciousness to a greater reality, to kind of shock us out of our everyday mundane state of just our daily life. Phil Goldberg wrote a book called, he wrote two books. One was called The American Vedas, and the other was about a biography about Yogananda. So he went around America and did a survey about what spiritual book brought you onto the path. And the number one spiritual book that brought people on the path, I bet you can't guess, was The Autobiography of a Yogi. And then the number two spiritual book was a book by Ram Dass. So then he went to Ram Dass and he said, what brought you on the path? What was there a spiritual book? And Ram Dass said, The Autobiography of a Yogi. That great book. And how many of you were brought to the path by that book? Or I'm sure you all have read it. And Swamiji, so many times he loved to tell the story about, and you would hear it, but how he got on the path, how he went to a store on Fifth Avenue and saw the Autobiography of the Yogi, the book, and purchased it. And it was the changing point of his life. That book, he read it, and he just took the next bus to Los Angeles and said to Yogananda, I want to be your disciple. And I'm sure you all have read, all saw the movie The Answer, and it tells that whole story of Swamiji. And I wanted to tell you about myself, and it's very interesting to ask people how you got on the path. And so many people have a story about the autobiography, how one person told me she just saw Master's picture sitting somewhere and saw that face and said, oh, who is that? And had to find the Autobiography of the Yogi. One time we gave a big lecture in Hyderabad, and there were 400 people. I was doing registration there, and that was very hard because the names were very long, and it was very hard for me, and I was all by myself registering 400 people. And this man came, and he was Muslim, and he said, this morning I was very angry because someone threw onto my porch the Hindustan Times, and I don't read that newspaper, and I wanted my own paper. But I opened it, and I saw this face, and I started crying. And that, of course, that was the picture on the AY. He said, and I started crying, and I didn't know why I was crying, but I knew I had to come today to this class. And he came to the morning class, and in the afternoon class, he brought his wife with him again. And so the autobiography is full of miracles, but just that picture of Yogananda can change us. I have a personal story how one time I was very ill, and so ill I had a bacterial infection, and I was in the hospital for 11 days. So if you're in the hospital more than one day, you're sick. And they were giving me antibiotics, and they weren't working. And I was probably too sick to know that I was sick, but my friends were praying for me, and my family was praying for me. And finally, I got better, and I went home. But in the meanwhile, my sister sent me the picture on the AY. There's one copy that has a picture on the second page, so she tore that picture out and sent it to me. And I put it on the wall next to my bed, and I was probably in the bed for another week or 10 days. And the eyes of Master, no matter where I went or what I did, they were following me around the room. And for about 10 days, I stared at that picture. Probably halfway through those 10 days, I called up my sister and said, well, there's another little story. A month before I got sick, my sister called me and said, I just joined Self-Realization Fellowship. And I said, oh, that's wonderful. You'll learn to meditate. And I said, you must have read the Autobiography of a Yogi. And she said, no. I said, how could you join Self-Realization Fellowship without reading that book? So I said, I read it 10 years ago, and I sent her my copy. And so after, when I was sick and she sent me the picture from that book, she also sent the book back. And I read the book, and this time when I read it, the first time I thought it was the best spiritual book that I ever read. But this time I was ready. I read the book, and it was like, I need Kriya Yoga. I want to find it now. And I want, it just, the vibrations filled me, and it was probably partly the picture on my wall and seeing those eyes of Master just going deep into my soul. He was calling me. And when you read that book, it calls to you. For those that it's right, it brings you here. It calls you. And so I looked for Self-Realization Fellowship, and I found a number, and I called them. No one called me back. And then I found a health magazine, and I found an ad for Ananda, because they had the picture, again, from the AY. And I said, oh, I'm going there. And I went to Ananda Village in Nevada City, and I learned the Hong Sa technique and the energization exercises. I was there for about 10 days, and I got stronger and healthier, and I even took discipleship. Now you have to take many courses before you get discipleship, but then if you were sincere, you could even get discipleship right away. But that has changed my whole life. And, from that time, I've never wavered. I've just stayed on this path to God. So how can we see God? And if you say, how can we see Satchitananda? That's like, wow, that's even like more puzzling than, how can man see God? There's another story I'd like to tell you about a farmer, and he was farming his field, and this car drove up, and he asked directions for a certain place that was in the neighborhood. And the farmer said, well, go 3 blocks straight ahead, turn left, then turn right. And then he goes, that's not going to work. Okay, make a U-turn, and then go down 4 blocks, turn right, turn left, turn right. That's not going to get you there either. And then he goes, you know what? You just can't get there from here. And so it is for us in our daily lives. If we don't have a spiritual practice, we cannot get there from here. We have to have some kind of practice. We have to have a practice that helps us find God. And I wanted to read a little bit about Namdev. I'll tell you a part of the story, and then I'll read a little bit. Namdev lived in a village, and village in the countryside, and he was a great worshiper of Krishna. And in his temple, there was a Krishna Murti that he would always pray to, and he would have visions of Krishna, and he would pour out his love to Krishna. And there was another great saint or yogi that lived in the same village, and he was a potter. And he also prayed to Krishna and had visions. And I like the story because when I was a young person, I was a ceramic artist or a potter too. So I like this story. So a potter, to test their ware, they take their finger and click it like this. And if everything is perfect, it has a beautiful sound. And if not, it has a thud. So the two yogis and their disciples, the temple was having a big festival, and so everybody was gathered in the temple, and the disciples and the two teachers, and the potter just kind of got whimsical and started going around and slapping all the devotees, and slapped each one, and of course they thought, well, he's a great saint, so this must be a spiritual test. So he gets to Namdev, and he slaps Namdev, who's his equal. And Namdev goes, "How dare you slap me?" And the potter goes, and everyone kind of laughs, and he's humiliated. And the potter goes, I see there's a crack in this pot. So Namdev goes back to the temple and prays to Krishna. Lord Krishna, I love you so much. And so this part I'm going to read. And he says, you know that I love you. Why did you permit me to be so humiliated before all those devotees? Shri Krishna replied, I'm sorry, Namdev, but the potter was right. There is a crack in your pot. In that case, Lord, what can I do about it? Namdev, you need the help of a guru. But I see you before me, Lord. You are the universe. What do I have a need for a guru? Why don't you yourself free me, Lord, of all my imperfections? My child, Krishna replied, I can instruct you, I can inspire you. But to achieve freedom from delusion, however, it is my law that you must receive a blessing from a true guru. Well, Lord, in that case, won't you please direct me to my guru? The Lord directed Namdev to a certain village where a saint lived, but he said, don't be surprised. This saint is a little peculiar. So Namdev travels to this village, and he starts asking the villagers, where is this person? And they go, you don't want to see this guy, you know? He's kind of strange. But Krishna told Namdev he must find this person in this temple. So one of the villagers finally said, this man, he's up by the temple. So Namdev goes up to the temple, and he sees this old, disheveled man laying on the ground with his feet on a Shiva lingam. And Namdev was like horrified. He shouldn't be doing that. So he said to the man, to his particular, however, the old man, his feet were resting on the Shiva lingam. Such an act of desecration for a bhakti like Namdev simply was inconsolable. Forgetting that this recumbent figure might be his guru, he strode over and loudly demanded that the man remove his feet from the holy image. The old man glanced up sheepishly and replied, young man, it's difficult, I'm so old. I find it difficult to change my position. Please, won't you move my feet where there's no lingam? So Namdev lifts the feet and moves them, and there another lingam comes up, and he moves them again, and he moves them 3 times and 4 times, and each time a lingam comes up, and then Namdev just realizes that This man must indeed be his guru. Namdev understood at last. Humbly he prostrated himself before this old man, whom he recognized to be his guru. I understand now, he said. Will you accept me to be your disciple? And the guru put his hand on Namdev's heart. And Namdev had a divine vision before him. Everything opened up. And he had a vision of samadhi, vision of everything disappeared, just like it says in the poem Samadhi. Vanished the veils of light and shade, lifted every vapor of sorrow. Gone the dim sensory mirage. Just all is lifted, all is gone. And, that famous poem, you all should learn it. I can always hear Yogananda's voice saying, you must learn that poem and repeat it every day. It's what we're striving for. It is beyond, there's, Swami would say there's circumference, center everywhere, circumference nowhere. Expansion of the self and beyond. And there's a special line in that Samadhi poem that I like. It's by deeper, longer, thirsty, guru-given meditation comes this celestial samadhi. Deeper, longer, but guru-given meditation. It means we need a guru to be able to see God, to expand our consciousness, to go beyond. We must have a guru. And as Dhyanaji said this morning, it's 25% our effort, 25% the guru will help us. And when those two combine together and we're totally sincere, then also the grace of God comes to take us that whole way. And on this path, we have multiple techniques to help us, just like the man said, the farmer, you can't get there from here. We have many techniques to help us get there. All the techniques, including our Kriya Yoga technique, all of them, the energization, the Hong Sa. And then in that line, longer, deeper, thirsty. Thirsty means devotion. You can't get there without devotion. You can't just have the techniques. You can't will yourself there. You must have devotion, opening of the heart, giving everything, offering to God, just like we did in the fire ceremony this morning. The first one is, the first mantra is to open our hearts. We throw the ghee and into the fire, but that fire is giving us the devotion. So every time you do that ceremony, say, Lord, give me more devotion. Throwing the rice in, that's letting go of our karma, all the things that hold us back. Lord, help me, release my karma. I want to know thee. Those are the things that we can do. And, I was also thinking when Yogananda had an experience of cosmic consciousness, Sri Yukteswar touched him at the heart, and then everything, he had visions behind him and in front of him. Everything disappeared. And in the Gita, in the chapter on divine vision, that's chapter 11. Breathe that chapter. It's beautiful. It tells how Arjuna talked to Krishna. And Krishna, I behold you in front of me, but he wanted more. He wanted the divine vision. And Krishna touched Arjuna, and Arjuna also opened up. And in the AY, we have Sri Yukteswar, Master was meditating, remember, with his mind like leaves in the wind, and Sri Yukteswar says, come here, Master, come here, Yogananda, or I think he called him Mukunda, come here. And then it was Yogananda's time, and he touched him at the heart center, and he had that divine vision. Now you might say, well, God, who's going to touch me, and when am I going to get my divine vision? Lifetimes, or can I do it now? So we have little things. This morning when I was blessing people at the Heart Center, and I always have Master flow through me. I'm not blessing you. Master is blessing you. I thought, wow, if you're really open, this is a mini, like going to cosmic consciousness, but you have to be free. When we say you are free, you have to think, I am free. You really could get there. So, next time you do purification, think of all these things. And you never know. We told this story yesterday, but if you have a board and there's a nail, and every day you pull the nail a little bit, one day the nail comes out. So with all our techniques and all our practices, every day we're tugging a little bit on those nails of delusion, trying to get rid of them, on the delusion of Maya, trying to get rid of it, trying to open our heart, trying to have more devotion. We keep doing this, and one day, poof, the nail comes out, and we too can have a divine vision.